I welcome you all to the next class on industrial management. We are discussing Unit 1, and this Unit 1 is on the basic concepts of management. So we have come to session 4. So in this session, we'll be discussing the cooperative societies, the advantages and the limitations of the cooperative societies, and towards the end, we'll be discussing the functions of management. Let's begin. So let us have a quick recap of the content which we intend to cover in today's class. So before starting today's class, let's have a quick recap of what we did in our previous session. In our previous session, we discussed the different types of business organization. One business organization which we discussed was the sole trade organization. So the sole trade organization is organization where the money is invested by the one person. He manages the business. If at all there is profit, he keeps it. If at all there is loss, he bears it. So the entire business is owned by one person. He is a proprietor of the business. That is proprietorship. Next is partnership, because the one person cannot invest huge amount of money, and also the all aspects of the managed work cannot be taken care of by one person. There is a need for partnership where the different people come together to pool their resources. So they will put their money for the business, and they will jointly do the management, the work, and they will try to maximize the profit for all. That is the partnership organization. The third type of organization which we discussed was the joint stock companies. In the above two types of organizations, there was unlimited liability. In joint stock company, there is a limited liability. Here, the capital is collected by issuing shares of different denominations, and these shareholders are the owners of the company. They meet and elect a body known as the board of directors. This board of directors govern the company on behalf of the shareholders. That is, the major decisions of the company is taken by the board of directors. That was the joint stock company. There were two types of joint stock companies. One is the private limited company, where the minimum number of shareholders is 2, the maximum is 50. This is usually done by a group of people who know each other, the friends and relatives together. They form a joint stock company to do business and at the same time take advantage of the limited liability. The other one is a public sector company. In the public sector company, the shares are open to the general public. Anybody can buy shares and become a shareholder, and the board of directors are elected through the shareholders. Now let's have a quick overview of the content we will be discussing in today's class. I'll be starting with cooperative society. What is cooperative society? What is the need for cooperative societies? And I'll be discussing the advantages as well as the limitations of the cooperative societies. And finally, towards the end, I'll be briefly touching upon the functions of management, and the functions of management will be continuing in the subsequent sessions. Now let's begin. Let's see what is a cooperative society first. The cooperative society is formed to overcome the main drawback of the types of organization with respect to the purpose or the objective with which the organizations function. The previous type of organization have the profit making at the core of its operations. That means all operations are focused towards making as much profit as possible. That is the motive behind starting a sole trade organization. That is the same motive is behind partnership organization. The same motive is also behind joint stock companies. So this motive is not exactly in society's interest. So what does it happen is that this will increase the inequality of wealth. By investing and making more profit, rich people become more and more richer, and the poor people will become more and more poor. This will increase the inequality of wealth in the society. This inequality of wealth will create a lot of the problems for the individuals as well as for society. The money is also like water. The water flows from the mountain to the sea. In fact, there is more water in the sea, less water in the mountain. Still, the water flows from mountain to sea only. Likewise, the money flows from the people who don't have money to the people who already have money. That is the basically the all. That's where basically all the profit oriented the business achieve this. Now this inequality of the wealth is to be combated, is to be reduced. That is the purpose of forming cooperative societies. So cooperative society is nothing but it is an association of individuals formed for the purpose of obtaining goods, especially those of the daily use, at lower rates than that in the market. In fact, this is focused towards consumers cooperative society. The 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 aim of this cooperative society is to benefit the public. Let us discuss more about the cooperative societies. Cooperative society is a voluntary organization. Nobody can be forced to become a member of the cooperative society. It is a purely voluntary. Whenever a person wants, the he can buy the limited amount of shares and he can become a member. He or she can become a member of the cooperative society. Then at any point of time, if he or she does not want to continue as member of the organization, she can give a notice, withdraw her the share capital, and she can cease to be a member. This is an absolutely the voluntary type of organization. A person is free to join, a person is free to leave the cooperative society. Here, there is no limit to the membership. That means the membership is open to all, and any number of the members can take membership of the cooperative society. There is no upper limit. A cooperative society can have any number of members. Now the question comes, how do poor people become the members of the cooperative society? So for that purpose, the face value of the shares are kept small, maybe 10 rupees per share, and any person can buy a few shares and become member. This is to encourage the membership to the cooperative society. In the cooperative society, the management is on the democratic principle of equality. So as we know, in a joint stock company, the board of directors are elected by the shareholders, but it is not one person one vote basis. So the the values of the vote depends on the number of share he holds. The more he or she holds the share, the the the, the vote of that person counts more. That is, the value of the vote is directly proportional to the number of shares held by that individual. So everybody person will not be having one vote in a joint stock company, but that is not the case in the cooperative society. Cooperative society acts purely on the democratic principle of equality. However, the amount of share one person holds, when the election comes, that person will have only one vote in the cooperative society. So it is the one person one vote, not one share one vote, the principle in the cooperative society. Here the objective of the previous types of organizations were to make profit, but here the main objective is to serve the members instead of maximizing the profit. Maximizing profit is not the purpose of cooperative society. The serving the members is the main purpose of the cooperative society. Of course, they should try for the break even to serve members. The society cannot run into losses. So the maximize the profit is not the motive. The serving the members by proper the by taking the proper route of the business is the function of the cooperative society. The rules is same here. The aim is to help every individual. So that is the all for one and one for all. That is the focus of the cooperative society. Now, the cooperative society has got certain distinct characteristics. Here, it has got a separate legal identity than the individuals. The same thing is true of the Johnson company also. Individuals are not the organization. Organization by itself is a separate legal body. So that is the cooperative society. And here, the management is purely on a democratic basis. As I already said, it is the one person, one vote. The basis, it is not one share, one vote basis. So everybody's vote carries the equal weightage in the elections to the cooperative society. The motive is obviously to serve people, not maximizing the profit. And the utilization of a surplus is very carefully done. In a cooperative societies, the surplus amount is always is immediately distributed as the bonus, as the dividend to the shareholders. Here it may not be distributed as dividend, and it may be used for the other purposes based on the opinion of the shareholders of the cooperative society. There is the government control is very much there on the cooperative society, because government is always there to protect the interest of the public against any misappropriation, against any the irregularity in the society. The government is always as a control. There is a register of cooperative societies. He monitors every cooperative society. Every cooperative society has to submit an audited report of its transactions to the cooperative society. Every society will have to conduct an annual general body meeting to elect the board of directors. All these things are done through under the government rules and regulations. Let's come to the types of cooperative societies. There are various types of cooperative societies. The first one is what is known as the producers cooperative societies. Usually what happens is there are small producers, agriculture producers, domestic, the food item producers, candle producers, a number of small producers. What happens is they compete against each other. In that cutthroat competition, everybody is forced to sell at a very low price, which hardly makes them to get any profit. So that is to avoid such a cutthroat competition and the bringing the price of the item in the market. These small the producers can form their own the manufacturers cooperative society. In this manufacturers cooperative society, these producers form a cooperative society. They sell their products through the society. They will fix the price so that the products can be sold at a particular price fixed by the cooperative society. So that will benefit the small the producers, that will the help the small agricultural producers, and also the producers of all other the small domestic the items. So that is the small producers can also make the reasonable the profit by selling them through the cooperative society. It also will help them to avoid the middleman's profit, because they form the cooperative society and they sell directly to the cooperative society. A lot of middlemen who get the benefit out of these products is the eliminated. That is one type of the society. Another type of society is the consumers cooperative society. Here the aim is to protect the consumers. That is, whenever we buy any product, there is going to be a manufacturer, then there is going to be a wholesale dealer, then there is going to be a retail the dealer. When it comes through this channel, and everybody will keep a margin of the profit, the finally the customer will get the product at a much higher rate than what it was given by the manufacturer. So the aim of the consumers cooperative society is to buy directly from the manufacturers and sell to the members. So that is the consumer's cooperative society. The ultimately the consumer will get the product at a rate which is much cheaper than that available in the market. Next is the housing cooperative societies. This is the very popular. A plot is taken, it is developed, it is made as sites and given to individuals. They construct the houses. That becomes the housing board, the colony. It is existing all over India in innumerable places, and the government will also support the housing societies by providing the cheap land and other facilities, because the housing is a real issue, especially in the urban areas. So the housing, the cooperative society tries to ensure that everybody has got a reasonable accommodation to live. That is the housing cooperative society. Another type of cooperatives, the society, that is the cooperative farming. This has not become popular in India, but in Western countries this is quite popular. Where there what they do is the entire the land is the land belongs to different the farmers. Now these farmers come together, they form a cooperative society and they do joint farming. The entire the field is made one, and they jointly do the farming. When they jointly do the farming, the area of farming is very huge, the land is very big. They can go for very advanced the farming processes. They can use big tractors, they can use helicopters for spraying the necessary ingredients on the crops. All sorts of the advanced techniques can be used because of the large quantity of the land. Finally, when the yield comes, when the money is recovered, they share the among the farmers in the agreed the proportion. That is cooperative farming. Somehow in India people are highly individualistic. The cooperative spirit in the farming is not much there. That's why it has not succeeded in India, the cooperative farming. This is another one we find here quite often. That is cooperative credit societies. All the cooperative banks, the cooperative financial institutions, they are all formed with the purpose of providing the loan, providing the credit to the customers. They will accept deposit. Out of that, they will give the credit to the required member. They will collect interest. They will share it among the for the depositors. So just like the other bank, the society also functions. But here again, the aim is to serve the members by providing loans with with the reasonable ease. Now let's come to the advantages of the cooperative society. The first one is that if it is a cooperative society, it always sells the products cheaper, and the, then it will avoid a lot of additional cost. There is not much advertisement cost because members know that it is their society. It will they will buy from the cooperative society when the items are available. So the publicity cost is not there, it is reduced. That again will reduce the cost of the product when it is sold. And the account keeping is also a task for which we may have to hire the professionals. But here what happens is some of the members who know the accounting, they may render honorary services, so that the cost, the expense which is spent on accounting is reduced. Here the aim is not to maximize profit, the aim is to serve the society, and because of that, the employees also get better the salaries and wages in the cooperative societies. In the when it is the profit oriented, the owner may try to give as the minimum salary as possible, which may not be sufficient to maintain a standard of living for the employees. But here, the cooperative societies offer better wage terms and conditions, so that the employees can comfortably lead a standard their life of reasonable the standard. Let us come to continue the advantages of cooperative societies. Here, the no question of the profiteering, there is no question of hoarding, there is no question of black marketing, because ultimately the aim is to serve the society, and all these malpractices will harm the society. So the black marketing, hoarding, and the profiteering are not there in the cooperative society. And the aim of the cooperative society is to equalize the money distribution that is in the interest of the society. The inequality of wealth has to be reduced as far as possible for the peace and prosperity of the nation. Overall, taking everything into account, the final is that the cooperative society benefits general public unlike the profit oriented organizations. For that, the there is a need for a sense of cooperation among the members. So the corporate societies promote a sense of cooperation among the members. The cooperation is something that is helping to run the business smoothly. Let us come to the disadvantages of the cooperative societies. Here, the the members of the cooperative societies are not the rich people, they are the poor people, the middle class people who become members of the cooperative society. Because the people are not very rich, the capacity to raise capital through cooperative society is limited. We cannot raise large amount of capital through cooperative societies because the members are usually the ordinary middle class people or the poor people, so they cannot invest huge amount in the cooperative society. And the sometimes the for better efficient management of an organization, we may have to the employ highly qualified the people, but cooperative society does not have this luxury. It cannot afford to employ highly skilled the management people to run the business because the financial the resources available are limited. So because of the financial resources, the services of the experts, the services of the qualified people may not be sometimes used by the cooperative societies. And then what is generally observed that in spite of good intentions, the management of the cooperative societies is usually the inefficient management. So the management does not function efficiently, and sometimes in addition to the inefficient and inexperienced management, the management is also corrupt in many the cases. The corrupt practices are followed by the management in some of the cooperative societies. That is another the drawback of the cooperative societies. And the members sometimes want to take undue advantage of the cooperative societies by the violating the rules and procedures. This is what is happening in many of the cooperative societies. Cooperative societies requires very strict supervision. Unless the strict supervision is exercised, the society may not work the proper. There may be the improper practices followed, or the rules may be violated by the cooperative societies. So the it requires very good supervision. Otherwise, it will not work well. These are the advantages. And in addition, there is another problem, that is excess officialization. Many times the cooperative societies work like the government departments. So here, this is the rule. There are excess officialization for everything. There are a lot of rules and procedures. For taking a loan, you may have to fill 10 forms and sign in 50 places. Such excess official procedures work as a hindrance in many of the cooperative societies. Now, let's discuss the differences between the cooperative societies and joint stock companies. The first one is basic objective. So, that is the very purpose of the organization is different in the cooperative society and the joint stock company. The purpose of the cooperative society is service. The, the, the So the purpose of joint stock company is profit making. That is to maximize the profit is the purpose of joint stock company. That means there is a fundamental difference in the very objective with which the organization starts. Then coming to the membership. So in a membership, it is limited to a specific group. This is not a general public cooperative society. Usually it is mentioned the people of working in a particular organization, or the people of the working in a particular profession. It is meant for a particular specific group of people. But here there is no such thing. This is open to all. It is not restricted to any group of the people. Coming to the members, the minimum members to start a cooperative society, the minimum is 10. This is the minimum membership for starting a cooperative society. And here in the joint stock companies, in the private limited company, the minimum shareholders is 2, and in the public limited company, minimum shareholder is 7. Coming to the transferability of the shares, a person having the share, if he wants to recover the money, what he has to do? The in cooperative society, the trans shares are not transferable. He cannot transfer his share to another person. Of course, he can return his share. He can cease to be a member. He can draw back his share money, but he cannot transfer his share to another person. But here it is purely transferable. In a public limited company, it is purely transferable. Anybody can transfer his share to anybody. In a private limited company, anybody can transfer his share to another shareholder of the same company. Coming to the voting rights for electing the board of directors. So that is how do they elect the administrative body. Here it is the one man one vote principle. That is, the one person will have the one vote irrespective of the number of share he holds. But here it is one share, one vote. If a person has got more shares, his vote will carry more weightage. If the person has got the less number of shares, his weightage for his vote is also going to be less, proportional to the share he holds. Coming to the certain privileges, so government gives certain privileges to the cooperative societies because it is in the interest of the general public. So there may be the exemption from the stamp duty. There may be the availability of finance at the cheaper the interest rates. Such privileges are there for the joint stock for the cooperative society. No such privileges are there for the joint stock company. And the bonus may be used for the welfare of the members in a cooperative society based on the decision of the members. Here usually this is divided among the shareholders as dividend. These are the differences between the joint cooperative societies and joint stock companies. Now let's move on and have a quick the discussion about management, and we will be continuing this discussion in the next class. As we have seen in the very first class, the management is the executive function of translating the broad policy decisions taken by the administration into action. So that is, the administration will take the broad policy decisions, and the management will convert those decisions into action. For that purpose, the management will have to run the organization on a day-to-day basis. That is, the day-to-day decisions are taken in an organization through by the management. The management has got very important functions. We'll be discussing, we'll be making just a mention of the purposes, and we'll be discussing one function in a little detail. Then remaining functions we'll be discussing in the next class. The first is the planning. Do you always plan is the question. Yes, we always plan. Not planning is also a way of planning. That is, the either you plan systematically, or if you are not planning, by default you are planning to fail. That is, the planning is a constant activity which has to be there for a successful achievement of any objective. Next is organizing. So that is, organizing means making the people, materials, machines and money available to start the organization. So that is that the different organizations are formed based on the organization structure. And then the staffing is the another function. We have to keep the people in the required positions. That is staffing. All are not suitable for all types of jobs. The carefully selecting and placing people is important. That comes under staffing. And next is the coordinating is an important function where the activities of all departments within the organizations are to be coordinated, and also the interaction of the organization with the external agencies, that is also to be coordinated. And finally, there should be the directing, that is the there will be a way of the systematic way of transferring or the give directing people to do their job, involving the effective communication in the organization. And the final is the controlling, that is the once the work starts, there should be proper way of controlling the work so that the the objective of the company is achieved. Now let's come to planning. What is planning? In very simple terms, planning is thinking before doing. If you think and make a mental the framework of what is to be done, then that is the planning. So this planning involves in industry. So what to produce? That is to deciding what is to be produced. And then the when question comes, when you are going to produce it. So that is we have to decide the time frame for the production. Then it's question the where the is going to be produced, selection of the site, placing of the machines and industries. The where is a very important question. Then the how and how much. So that is the how you are going to produce is the another the important issue in manufacturing. And answering all those questions about who is going to manufacture and what is the purpose of the manufacturing and overall the object of the organization. So all these questions are to be systematically answered, and answering all these questions will involve the meticulous planning. So the planning is concerned about establishing goals of the organization. So this is the first thing. The establishing the goals of the organization is a starting point of planning. So we have the organization need to set the right goals and should follow right means for achieving those goals. The goals are to be good, and the means should also be good for achieving those goals. The goals, when we set goals, we should ensure that goals is specific, it is not vague, and it has to be measurable. We should be able to see whether the goals are achieved or not. The non measurable goals will not help us to achieve, to see whether things are achieved or not. So it should be a practical, realistic, that is the goals are to be achievable within the resources of the company, and it has to be realistic goals. We cannot have the utopian the ideas as goals, and these goals are to be bound to a time frame, that has to be the timely. In addition, the goals should be ethical. All the ethical considerations are also important and reasonable. So we should make our goals always smarter. So the goals, the planning will help the organization to decide the suitable course of the course of work for achieving the well-defined goals. And this planning will also help the organization to allocate the resources, that is the men, machine and materials properly within the organization, so as to achieve the objectives of the organization in a very effective manner. Why do we need the planning is the planning will always help us to adjust to uncertainties, because the situations change, the surroundings change, the environment is always dynamic. So a good planning will take care of the uncertainties in the environment. And the planning is always for future. So we cannot plan for yesterday. Yesterday is gone. So the planning will forecast the future course of action on a very on a very systematic way. Of course, in spite of all the the care, the future still remains uncertain. But still, even if the future is uncertain, I should plan my future action now itself. I need to forecast my future action. That's what the planning does. And planning will help the people to utilize the resources the effectively. That means planning allocates resources and it ensures the utilization of the resources. The planning will avoid the bottlenecks in production. Let's see what is bottleneck. See, this is the one module which is fast. This is another module which is slow. This is a third module. This is a, some sort of the bottleneck. So if you take a bottle, the amount of flow is not decided by the bottle, it is decided by the neck of the bottle. So that is neck determines how much water will, how much the liquid will flow through the bottle. Similarly, this is fast, it will do its operation fast. This will make slow, and this will not have the material. So what it is, what this the machine produces will be piling up in one place, and this will be doing the work very slowly, and this machine will not have the material at all because it has to come, whatever come, it has processed fast, it has to wait for the material. So this is acting as a bottleneck for production. This bottleneck is to be avoided by proper planning. And what you can see here, see the in this figure, it flows here, but everything gets slowed down at a particular point, and here the materials, the people and the machines will be waiting for the material. This is the bottleneck. The bottlenecks are to be avoided in the production. For example, here I may need two parallel machines. So that means some of the material will pass through this, some of the material will pass through this, so that this bottleneck is the avoided by providing additional the machines, because that machine is specifically slow. Next is the to take any corrective actions, that is to take correct decisions, we need a systematic planning. Now this will the end, at the towards the end we'll be discussing one final concept, that is organizing. Organizing is nothing but making men, machine and materials available so that the production activity can start. Mainly, it is about people. The materials and machines does not pose much of a problem, because that is a those things depend on budget. On budgetary calculations, the machines and materials are purchased. The people are not like that. People are not purchased. We should carefully select, train, and utilize the services of the people. So this involves the defining relationship between the various people in the organization. So we have to have a structure for the organization, and the role of each people must be defined, and the people will fill into the roles. For example, there will be a role of general manager, there's a role of the deputy manager, a role of the production superintendent, a role of the foreman, a role of accountant, a role of the sales manager. There are different roles, and people will fill into those roles, and once the roles are allocated, the people will carry the the responsibility of the role and perform the task for which the role gives them necessary authority for doing the work in the organization. This is the organization organizing follows certain the steps. The first one is everything depends on the objectives. The objectives are at the core of everything. The based on the objectives, the organization structure is defined. The activities are grouped together. For what are the activities which the manager has to do, what are the activities which the foreman has to do, what are the activities which the sales manager has to do. These activities are grouped together, and these grouped together activities are assigned as duties for that particular role, and then authority and responsibility of each role is fixed. For what are the authority which is available given to that particular person, what is his responsibilities, what he has to do perform. So that was what we intend to cover in today's class. Let's have a quick summary of what we discussed today. We started our discussion with the cooperative societies. This is formed with the intention of the serving the people. Maximizing profit is not the aim. The benefiting the society is the aim of cooperative societies. It has got its own advantages. It has got its own disadvantages. We discussed the advantages and disadvantages of the cooperative societies. And Then we discussed the about management, and we discussed about the planning and organizing functions of the management. We'll continue with management functions in our next class. Thank you.